Hi there everyone! So today is going to be my first book discussion, and just to set everything off on a good note, at least for me, I decided I'm going to do it on my absolutely favorite book of all time, Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. Most people, I started to like Alice in Wonderland because of the Disney movie. And there is nothing wrong with that. Just because you find something a certain way doesn't mean you're less of a fan. Anyways, to actually get started on discussing the book, I decided maybe I should bring up some certain points. After all, a lot of people always ask me, why is it Alice in Wonderland? I mean, after all, with so many classic fairy tales, no one ever really thinks that you would love Alice as much as any of those. From most of the tales that we hear as children, the very first are always filled with Prince Charmings and princesses. But Alice is not a princess. In fact, by the time she falls down the rabbit hole, Alice is only 7 years of age, and she's just a normal girl. She's as curious as every child when we're growing up, and that makes her so relatable to us. And I guess maybe that's the appeal. Of course, as you grow up, you start to realize that the story that you thought was oh so funny as a child, it really isn't. In fact, most of the time, Alice in Wonderland is very, almost cynically dark. It makes you ponder and question. The characters are always 2 steps ahead of Alice, and therefore 2 steps ahead of us. Some of my favorite characters are the Mad Hatter, or the Cheshire Cat. And, though some may not believe it, the Queen of Hearts. The Mad Hatter isn't as unusual to be a favorite character. He likes to turn everything Alice says into something witty and completely different from what she was talking about. For example, the Mad Hatter has a conversation with Alice dealing with time. And while Alice refers to time as we know it, the Mad Hatter speaks to time as if he is a person. If you knew time as well as I do, said the Hatter, you wouldn't talk about wasting it. It is him. The Hatter likes to actually use things not just in a metaphorical term, but he takes things almost literally. There are many variations of the Mad Hatter, and though some have played around with what they think his intelligence is, one thing they have always both declared is he is absolutely mad. My second favorite character is actually the Cheshire Cat. And there's nothing more to it than the fact that he is the most iconic right next to Alice. Also, I really like how the Cheshire Cat really gets under Alice's skin. He knows how to bother her, and he's almost haunting in a sense, with his vanishing and reappearing. And of course, when she asks him to stop disappearing so quickly because it frightens her, he slowly disappears before he leaves with only a smile. Finally, the last of my favorite characters is the Queen of Hearts. And some people have only ever remembered the Queen of Hearts from her constant hollering of, "Off with his head," or "Off with her head." But there's something that makes me think a little more about her. In fact, it was one line where it was revealed that no one was ever really executed in Wonderland. And I think with that it made me realize maybe she's just a woman who's very angry. Maybe she just does have a temper. But then also it made me think maybe she doesn't have as much power as she thinks she does. So what does that really say about the Queen of Hearts? There is one good thing about having this very small copy of Alice in Wonderland, just so I can carry it around. I recently found out Lewis Carroll's real name. His real name is Charles Lutwidge Dodgson. In this video, I've said things about Alice in Wonderland that maybe most people already knew. But it means something to me. Alice in Wonderland was a story I grew up with. And more as I get older, it's a story that I've stuck with. I've remembered it for most of my life. And I hope that I will continue to remember it long into adulthood. This story has gone through the ages for a reason. But just like all stories, the video must end as well. So, as the King of Hearts said, start at the beginning, and when you get to the end, stop.